So in this video we finished wiring the truck, tore the rear end and stuff out of the Falcon. Let's see, what else did we do? We got the truck running. That's a big one. Wiring's done. We got one Global West shackle in the Falcon. I'll do the other one tonight. We're making progress. It's taking a while, but we're getting there. Remember, like and subscribe to Side Money Garage. And for those of you that watch, we appreciate it. And thank you very much. Alright, it's Friday. Due to the shitty weather, we didn't get much done. Just too goddamn cold. So, today I want to get the gauge cluster in this truck. I got the turn signal lights to wire in. The power door lock module. The tack and plug number 2 of the gauge cluster, which I already started on under here somewhere, right here. So now we're starting on the rest of it. We're gonna get that figured out. We got everything under the hood figured out except for the power lock module. That's next. So we're gonna get started in getting those figured out and where, what, and how. For plug number 2, it is right and left turn indicators on the gauge cluster and the charge indicator. So one charge indicator goes to that, one goes out to the alternator, and one goes to each front turn signal. So we're gonna get started on all that stuff so we can get this gauge cluster in here and get this tack wired up. Alright, it's Sunday fun day. It's Falcon day. We're gonna get this rear end ripped out of here. We're trying to lighten this car up and make it handle a little better. So we're doing away with the ladder bars and we're putting cow tracks on it and adjustable shocks. Those are cheap Summit adjustable 3-way shocks, but we're putting better shocks on it. We're gonna get started on this. I guess if this is gonna work, I need to put my fat ass on a diet too, so that'll be coming real quick. But there's the cow tracks. They were on a 62 Mercury Comet. Now they're going on a 63 Falcon. Let's get this thing going. Alrighty, we got the axle out. We got the U-bolts out. I'm gonna go take the U-bolts out of the other side. Kyle's working on getting the ladder bars off. I'm gonna come over here and work on these U-bolts. Then we're gonna pop these springs out. He's gonna do some stuff, and we're gonna put these on and see what we got here. Hopefully we can get to the bottom of this and make something happen with these cow track springs. I brought a scale. We're gonna weigh each spring and see what we lose in springs or gain in springs. Just to be nosy, I guess. We're probably gonna keep our shackles for now. I don't know if we're gonna do a slider link or not. We'll see. We're gonna weigh each part and see what they do. All right. So we got one. The rear differential is out. Kyle's ripping the center section out. We got one leaf spring off. Over here, we got one factory spring and one split mono cow track spring. There's a 15 pounds for the cow track spring, 20 for the stock spring. So we're losing 5 pounds a side, according to our cheap scale, which equates 10 pounds. Wow. Alright, so now we're going to get the other spring out, or put this spring in, see what we can do here. Well, it's Sunday. Next 2 days are supposed to be freezing ass cold, so I'll probably be working on RC cars, my wiring diagram for the truck. The Falcon now has the 8 inches out, differentials apart. We got a lot of shit to clean up over there, but... And the Caltrack springs are both in. You got to cut the front bracket off. There's the ladder bars. On the old truck here, we got a lot done. All the wire under the hood is done, so that's ready to go. On the inside, we gotta do a little bit more, but most of it's organized except for up where the gauge cluster goes. Once we get the gauge cluster in, we'll finish that part and she'll be good. So Thursday on Falcon Day, it should be warm. Wednesday I'll work on the gauge cluster. Thursday I'm gonna grind these suckers off, get my rear end ready to put back in. Alright, we're trying TIG welding. We're not very good at it. We're not good at MIG welding, but we can make metal stick. This is a little bit different. So, we're trying to TIG weld the doubler on the adjustable Caltrack bar holder. We suck at it, but we're gonna make it happen. Then we'll probably fire up the MIG welder to actually weld it together because we suck at this. But we're gonna try to put some there, then we'll turn it around and put some along the back. This was our first attempt, was not very successful. We practiced a couple times, and now we're gonna give it a try. Alright, we attempted to TIG weld this stuff. We are not TIG welders. We are not any kind of welder. But we got them all. So now, we're gonna use our 4-inch grinder to make us the welder we ain't. We are gonna grind all these things smooth. And then we're gonna start assembling, but when we assemble them, I will definitely MIG weld them, because that definitely works better for me. But for now, we're gonna grind on these nasty things. Alright, so we took a circuit tester and tested all our fuses, all our wires. Power door locks ain't working. The horn wasn't working, we got it working. Everything else seems to be working, and the dome lights are not working. But I think that's the switch. So I'm gonna get a new headlight switch for it. Coming. And then we're gonna try to figure out these door locks. And then tack is working. Everything's working. Except for the dome lights and the headlight switch. So we're gonna get a new headlight switch. And we're gonna gather up all the wiring for the power locks. And then all we gotta do is zip tie some things underneath. Tie up the bottom. Tranny cooler line, gas pedal, wires to the back. Here's our brackets we made for our Caltrack adjustable rear bracket with tow hooks. They're not the greatest looking things on the planet, but we did pretty good. Tomorrow. Okay, it's Thursday, Falcon Day. Where we left off, we had our hammer adjustable welded up in. We're working on shocks and finishing the Caltrack stuff. And we got some Global West suspension shackles for the Falcon. They're designed to work with Caltracks. So this is what we got. So right off the rip, we're gonna start reading some directions and getting this baby put together. See what we can come up with. All right, we got one shackle in. You can't really see it under there, but it's in there. And we signed up for Power Tour yesterday. So we're trying to convince old Mike into taking the old cheese truck here on Power Tour. We got the gauge cluster in. We got to fancy up those wires a little bit. Clean the floor. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to try to get this thing started this weekend. Cranking. I don't know if it'll run or not. We got to finish hooking up the oil line, the temperature line. Clean all this disaster up. Prime the motor, hook up the transmission stuff, put some gas in it, and hook up the alternator. So, for starters today, while it's warming up in here, it's cold and moist, like wet, damp, I don't know. It's rained all goddamn day. But we're going to try to con him into taking this on Power Tour. He wants to take a square body Chevy he's working on. But I don't know. So I don't think I can ride in one of those for a week. It's got all the negatives in the world. 4x4 and Chevy. Just means for a bad time. So we're going to try to get this thing started so we can see what's happening. So while it's warming up, I got to do an alternator wire, a belt. Tuck those wires in. We're going to go over here and make a list for today of what we're going to do so that we can get some shit done on this thing. Our helper Kyle, he's MIA. You know, his follow through sucks. But, oh well. Yesterday was our first Thursday back together, me and Mike breaking shit, getting this Falcon ready to abuse. And now we're going to get the truck done. Alright, so I'm going to go make my list. So, yeah, we cleaned our work van out. Looked at the front end. We got a lot of garbage to get out of here today. Alright. Here we go. Let's do this. Give her one of these. And this is just going to be for today. What we want to get done. Alright. That shit's pretty fucking gnarly. Ruins a lot of stuff too. Yeah. Alright. So today's story. Let's find us a nice Sharpie. We used to have some skinny ones. We're gonna go with brown. Alright. So, because I'm a short fat guy, I start down here. We're going to do the alternator wire, the belt, starter wire, oil gauge, temp, gauge, Clean up wires. Wires under the dash. Kick panels. Door panels. Rear wires. Speedo. Cooler lines. Oil. Prime. Tranny fluid. And fuel. All that, and we should be able to try to start this thing, I hope. Again, that's a prayer. But we're going to see what we can do. We're going to start with the alternator wire and the alternator belt. So let's find, what do we need? All right, we got the credit card on there. The little thing converts a Ford alternator to a one wire. This goes to my light, this goes to my battery. Time to install this turkey. We have a aftermarket alternator bracket, third eye blind or something, I think is what it's called. I don't know, I think I got it on eBay maybe. I bought it somewhere years ago. But that's our alternator bracket. We gotta clean all the cobwebs out of this thing. Anybody know any good way to get cobwebs off of something? Then we gotta fix our ground. Kyle did our ground and he stacked a bunch of washers on there and everything else. That's never gonna work. We cannot use washers for grounds. Can't teach that kid anything if he never shows up. But we'll get him. We'll get him. Here we are. We're on our board here. Let's see. We gotta fix the grounds. Kyle didn't do so good on those. Before we try to start it. We might wait and see if Kyle shows up someday again. I doubt it though, because he ain't doing so good. Alright. So we got the alternator wire, the alternator belt. They are on and done. Next, we're gonna work on the starter wire and the ground, I think. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So let's go work on those and see what we got to come up with there. Alright, here's the underside of the truck. There is a shit ton of cobwebs. But old Kyle, he put about 30 washers on that ground. It'll probably work. I ain't saying it won't work. And then he used, for this side of the ground, the tiniest bolt he could find. And I don't like that. So we're gonna see if we can do that a little better. And then we're gonna see if we can bring the starter wire up to where it needs to go and fix that stuff. So we're gonna try to take some of them washers off. We're probably just gonna take them all off and just cut the bolt down some. This side here, we're gonna have to put a bigger bolt or something. That's never gonna work. I don't like that. But Kyle tried and he means good and he's learning. That would probably work. But to me it's not gonna work, I guess. I don't care for it. So that's gonna be our next order of business. We are going to fix the ground more to our liking and the starter wire. All right, so we fixed it how I would fix it, I guess. I put a bolt in there with a nut, put the ground strap right against the frame, clean the paint off, and then I put another nut on it to hold that. I got a shorter bolt with one flat washer and a lock washer, and clean the paint off to hold the other side. Like I say, Kyle's ground would have worked, but it was just not how I would have did it. Nothing wrong with it, just not my doing. Now, I'm going to hook up the training cooler line while I'm under here. So I'm going to get a cutter and a clamp and hook that up. Then that's done. We can get some of them cobwebs out of there, I guess. We can mark that off. And then we have a training cooler line on. So we can go mark off the grounds. Well, we got to check the ground from the cab to the frame. But the engine to the frame is a good thick ground. This is our starter cable. We got to hook that up too. We're going to do that now and cut this off and hook that up. So we can get this thing, I want to get it started tomorrow. We're going to try like hell. All right, training line's on, starter wire's on. So let's go back to our list and mark a few things off. We're getting somewhere. So there's our starter wire tight. Alternator wire will get hooked in. This side of the engine's all wired in. We got to hook a vacuum hose to the distributor, a vacuum port plug. The back looks, I can't tell what the heck's on the back. It looks like a plug. PVC valves in the front. So let's go see what we're going to tackle next. So now we got our ground, our starter wire, cooler line on. So I think next we're going to do the oil gauge, temperature gauge, and clean up the wires. We might get all those done today. I don't know if it's close to 8 o'clock or not. That's usually when we stop for today. Just due to the fact that we like to get some sleep. And we got a couple things we got to do, so it's coming. Alright, so it is Saturday morning. We're back to work on the truck. We got to make a throttle linkage. This is an all-star aluminum linkage piece left over from the Falcon. We got some throttle. We're trying not to do anything too crazy here, so we're going to cut this off here. And thread it and put an end in it. Then we're going to have to measure where we're cutting the back somewhere. But let's get this end done first. So we're going to take our little ruler, and I believe that is 3 inches, but we're gonna cut it at 4 for our configuration here. So I'm gonna cut this off, get it tapped, and get the end on it, and then we'll get it set in the carburetor and work our way back. We're working on our throttle. So we got this end tapped and in. This will hook to the accelerator pedal coming out of the truck. This, when it's at full throttle, is where our other end needs to be. So when we put all this on, it's going to be a little bit shorter. So we're going to make another bolt for that to put right there to hold that. So we'll probably cut this right in there somewhere. thread it, put a stud on there, put a nut on it, bring it down, and lock it in. And that'll be our throttle linkage. So far, so good, it's working. We're gonna try it out here in a few minutes. For now, though, we're gonna take the cutoff wheel, we're gonna cut this where we want it, and then we're gonna get it and thread it. Then we're gonna get another bolt, cut the head off, and that'll be our stud to go in and out. We'll show you as we go, I guess. Alright, there it is, cut off where we want it. Now, all we gotta do, take our little tap, set it right there. Let's put a dab of cutting oil on there. Right, like so. This is really hard with one hand. And you take your time and you just start tapping the hole. And we'll bottom it out in there. Gotta tighten this up though. And you could use a soft jaw vise if you don't want to scratch up the black. I think these come in red. They come in several different colors. Just run this tap in and out a few times. Well, one time, I guess. Bottom it out. Just run it out. There's that. Now we just clean the threads and cut off a bolt. Alright, there's our little 10mm bolt that's going to be our stud. We're going to cut it off and make this happen. Okay, the throttle is on. That's what our throttle is going to look like. It performs flawlessly so far. I gotta put the snap ring in the back one, and it's good to go. So we can mark throttle off our list. We gotta tighten one, put a vacuum plug up there. And the carburetor part's good. You gotta cut them zip ties when I snap that little snap ring on. Tighten up that 1/2 inch bolt. Tighten up that valve cover bolt. And I think that part's pretty good. So we're getting on it. One more thing we can mark off our list. And just like that, speedometer is in. Now we're gonna go put the other end inside the speedometer of the car. Make sure we got all our tranny bolts. And we can start filling up the transmission and the radiator. Alright, it's Sunday morning. We had this thing running. Very little bit, it'll run off a bottle. Fuel pump ain't pumping. So, went to Summit last night, got a new fuel pump. We're gonna swap that thing out, throw a new fuel pump on it, and hopefully we'll have some action then. We're gonna try one more time before we get on Sunday Fun Day and work on the Falcon. We gotta try to get that, and the gas gauge ain't working. We gotta check the wiring and all the bullshit for the gas gauge. Alright, round 2. I had to go back to Summit, get a fuel pump for the second time because they gave me the wrong one. Now we're going to see if we can get some fuel pressure. You watch down there for leaks, Kyle. Down there.
Yeah, I'm watching.
We ain't got no juice, Kyle. Is the battery post on?
Yeah. When we got double check.
Nope.
Hey, your clamp ain't on.
No fuel pressure still. There we go. All right. Turn your key on, Kyle. Just turn it on, not crank.
That's what I'm trying to do.
All right.
At least we got 20 pressure on the oil.
Pump the gas a little. All the way to the floor. Again. All right. Where's your squirt bottle, Kyle? Give her a... Let me get that step over here so I can give it some. We might have to get some gas next, huh?
Yeah.
We got fuel pressure.
Still no fuel gauge.
I ain't worried about that until we get it to run. Get that long screwdriver, Kyle.
Should be this girl right here.
We're gonna have to turn the idle down just a little bit. Turn it that backwards about a half a screw.
That should be toward you, right?
Yep.
Right there, you call these. Screw.
Right there.
Right there.
She's cold-blooded because it ain't warm.
lucky now.
Ah! It's on, Kyle. Nope, leave that.
Oh, my bad, my bad.
And I told you to hold that with both hands, didn't I?
My bad.
But why didn't you hold it, Kyle? Hit the key when I tell you, Kyle.
Don't you have to hook up the wire?
Nope. Oh, yeah. Alright, let's see if the key works. There's that. Did it have good oil pressure, Kyle?
Yeah, it was getting pretty good oil pressure.
What was it up to?
Almost up to 80 like we had yesterday.
Alright. See if this turkey starts with the key, then we'll mess with the gas gauge.
Yeah.
Did that blue light go out?
No, we still had the blue light and the red light.
The red light was on?
Yeah, and it said all.
Yeah, that's the alternator light. It ain't charging. But we'll check that after we get it to run a while.
Yeah.
We may have to change the alternator. Who knows? Go ahead, Kyle. Try it again, Kyle. Give it. Pump the gas twice. All right, go ahead. What did it go up to, Kyle?
Perfect 80.
Perfect. Woo! Sexy Rexy. Did the yellow light, red light, alt light go out?
No. Red and blue was still going. I have no clue what the blue light's for.
High beams.
Oh.
And I think it's because we don't have no headlights plugged in anywhere.
Yeah.
Woo! She's a loud one with no exhaust, huh? We did it, Kyle!
Sounds good though.
We got it running, Kyle Pyle.